Welcome friends to today's class. My name is Brentan and today we're going to be focusing on shoulder flexion, which is the movement from where the arm moves from neutral in front of the body. So when you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started in a standing position at wherever you want. You're at home, wherever you want to stand. And I should say that, if you don't want to stand, if you'd rather sit, do that too. But kind of right out of the gate here, maybe let's move our spine around a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of sink down into the knees, move the spine through some kind of snaky little movements, cat and cow. At the same time, starting to breathe through my nose, letting the face become a little bit softer, the breath a little bit deeper. And then eventually coming all the way up to an upright position here. And we'll start working the shoulders. We'll do full range of motion, all of the joint positions. But in order to move our shoulder, we need to sort of not move everything else. So from here, let's go ahead, find neutral with the pelvis by first rolling it forward and then scooping it underneath. You can just do that a couple of times, just kind of noting which pelvic positions feel really accessible, which ones feel like you haven't been in them in a while. Starting to become sensitive and then setting the pelvis in an upright position so that if it were a bowl filled with water, it would neither be tilting forward nor backward. We will need to use a little bit of muscular effort to sort of hold this in place as we then move our attention and our hands up to our rib cage. We do the same thing with the ribs, lifting, curling in. Trying to respect that boundary we just created in the pelvis so that as we're moving, we're really distributing that movement into the middle spine where the ribs are. And then just like the pelvis, trying to sense what might neutral be here. From here, letting the chest be nice and broad and the head lifting up and back so that the spine is set in its natural four curves. And then it's here that we can start moving the shoulders a little bit. So first, let's just start kind of roll them forward, the upper arms forward, and then roll them back. And as you do this, it's a little rotation, internal and external, just to kind of start to sense all the different positions this upper arm bone can be in relative to the torso. And then as if we could find kind of that middle point where we're neither internally rotated nor externally rotated, where the arm up in the socket is sort of sitting in a good place relative to the chest, relative to the back. And then from here, what we'll do is we'll take our left hand and place it on the right ribs. And from there, what we'll do is we'll use that as feedback. And by the way, this hand can be like a traveling spider. It can go everywhere. So from here, what we'll begin to do is keep ourselves nice and stable, a nice centrated spine. And we'll begin to lift the right arm forward towards shoulder flexion. And we're just gonna go really slowly here. And we're gonna try to notice at which point our rib cage wants to tip up, at which place our pelvis wants to tip forward. Those are gonna be kind of the more natural feeling things, I imagine, for most of us. And this left hand is giving us a lot of information here. So you can feel the ribs, you can crawl that hand over to feel other parts of your ribs. You could even crawl that hand up to sort of feel where's my arm? And we want a little bit of time under tension here. So if your arm gets tired or you get into a painful range, why don't you come out and then come back in? And we'll just see if we can give ourselves a little bit of time under tension here because the brain is used to just sending easy commands to the body and utilizing the body however it's easiest to move, which is likely moving in the ribs, likely moving in the spine or the pelvis. And so when you don't let the brain take that pathway, it has to figure out something else to do. And so here we're asking the brain to start exploring the space in our tricep, the space in the armpit. And now when we get all the way up to the top, like where our max shoulder flexion is right now, what we can start to do is rotate the arm in the socket, just kind of like we did before. So like kind of rotating it out and then rotating it back in. And at first, the first time we do this, the brain might send the command and nothing might happen. We're just getting the brain used to the understanding that this is possible. And so that the next time when the arm rolls open, so the palm's facing out beside you, we can start to reach the arm out to the side and back down towards the side of the body, keeping the arm locked in towards the torso and noticing for any little potential movements in the ribs, spine, or pelvis. So now we can flip the palm to face back. Again, we want to stay nice and centrated in the spine as we begin to reach the palm back and up into imaginary resistance behind us. Again, it's very natural here for the ribs to want to tip up, the pelvis to want to tip forward, but we're asking that to not happen. So this is shoulder extension here. And in the shoulder extension, we want to feel the chest nice and open so we're not sort of rounding forward to get that to happen. And just like we explored rotation in neutral and then in flexion, let's experience rotation here in extension. So give your arm a little freedom out to the side. And as you do that, you can start to see rolling in the socket open and rolling in the socket closed. And again, that's where the hand can sort of be useful because you can feel like, am I doing that? You know, does my brain even kind of understand that this can happen? And at the same time, watching for all of those little variations. So when the palm faces up, the shoulders rotated externally, we can begin to reach the arm out and up. Now we're bringing it back up towards shoulder flexion, and we'll bring shoulder flexion down in front of us, back to neutral. So that's the full range of shoulder motion, very active. You can kind of feel that there. So again, take your time. The point is to go slow and controlled as much as possible. So let's go ahead and do our other side, the right hand to the left ribs. Find a nice neutral pelvis, spine, rib cage, chest open, head back over the chest. And before we do anything, it's a little internal external rotation here. So you can begin to feel all the different ways the arm can set itself in this socket here. The shoulder is historically a very confusing joint for me. And so as if we could find a position where it was neither internally nor externally rotated, but just neutral, we can begin to lift the arm forward into shoulder flexion. And as we do that, everything wants to move. The ribs want to move, the spine wants to move, the pelvis wants to move, and we say, no, thank you. We try to feel this arm in the socket here, lifting straight up. So again, kind of resisting the urge to internally or externally rotate right up here in that socket as it goes up. We're trying to get the arm as long and as straight as possible. And we're giving ourselves a lot of time under tension at the top so that the brain can start to feel like, okay, how can I use this tricep differently? How can I use this armpit area differently? All the way up. And once it gets up here, now up here we can explore a little internal external rotation as well. So rolling out and in. And there's a lot to feel, but we just try to breathe and be easy in the face, easy in the jaw. When the hand rolls out the next time, reaching the arm out and down to the side. That's half of the movement of the shoulder. So now spinning the hand to face back, we can begin to reach the palm back and up towards shoulder extension, keeping everything else nice and centrated. From here, a little freedom for that hand out to the side. And in that now shoulder extended position, internal, external rotation. And the forearm rotates too, and that's great. But we want to not just rotate at the forearm, but also right here in the socket. And now we see, can I externally rotate through that arm? And can I reach that arm out and up? As it comes out and up, nice, slow, controlled. We come all the way down and forward in front of us. And great job, we just did full shoulder rotations. What we can do next is we can come down onto all fours to tabletop position. And in the tabletop position, we can feel free to move around any way that feels good, kind of right out of the gate. And then from here, we'll work on shoulder flexion again. We'll work on becoming stronger in our end ranges, since we know that we're most of the time strongest in our mid ranges. So I'm going to use a block for this, as I kind of like just explain what we're going to do, and then we can do it. And I'm going to do end range shoulder flexion training in a child's pose. And so if child's pose is not so great for you, or if in this last exercise you notice like, wow, my flexion is like here, and like that's what I've got, then I might recommend for you to ditch the mat, come over to a wall, and what you'll do is you'll stand and you'll find end range shoulder flexion for you here, with as few compensations as possible through your ribs and your spine and your pelvis, and you can follow along, I think, pretty much the same verbal cueing. So kind of pick what you're gonna do. And from here, let's work with the left arm first. I'm gonna take that block in front so I can give my hand a little bit of a lift here. And as I kind of fold the upper body down over the legs, I'm gonna give my head a little support with the right hand. So I'm just gonna kind of build that fist, take the forehead down, and just kind of feel comfortable here. So we know that this is hip flexion, it's spinal flexion, then we'll add in shoulder flexion from here. So we're not in a centrated spine the way that we just were when we were standing, but still kind of sense like, okay, my spine is trying to remain in child's pose, my ribs are trying to remain in child's pose, my pelvis is trying to remain in child's pose, and then I can reach the left hand forward on top of the block. And so from here, this is quite a lot of shoulder flexion, but this is pretty passive. We're just kind of resting on the floor, letting gravity do our work. And what we want to do is get really strong in these end ranges. So the first way that we can do that is we can train our pushing strength. So we're going to take the palm maybe flat to the block. We're going to press the block down and forward away from the body. This is the same cue for the wall. You would push the wall away from the body and up towards the ceiling. And just start to slowly, over the next few seconds, start to build a full contraction through the arm. So through your hand, through your forearm, through your upper arm. And just push, 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 push through the hand. And now from here, we're going to train the opposite. So we're going to train our pulling strength. So begin to softly release that contraction, and we'll see what do we need to contract if we wanted to hover the hand off of the block, or if you're at the wall, off of the wall. Hold the contraction, hold it here, and then release and let it go. So let's see, we're gonna do this one more time, but we're gonna see if we can build into just a little bit deeper end range. So for me, I'm gonna flip the block up to the next height. If you're at the wall, you can see, can I get my hand higher up the wall? Okay, so a new end range. Trying not to twist in the torso. I'm trying to really respect the child's pose or the centration in the rest of the body. Trying to get my arm as long as possible out from the torso. Armpit as open as possible on all sides. And then pressing the block down and forward, or the wall forward and up. And slowly start to build a contraction through the arm. So the brain is learning how to turn on the muscles. And then we'll see, can I do the opposite? Can I keep everything in child's pose and lift the hand, woo, and hold. And release. Great job, my friends. How did that work for you? Let's go ahead and switch our sides. So if you need to do something in between your sides, you can pause the video, do a couple of other poses, whatever you want. And then we can come back and do our right shoulder. So we'll come down. When we take the right hand into kind of end range shoulder flexion, we're trying to do that without altering anything through our ribs, our spine, or our pelvis. We're still trying to breathe nice and easy through the nose and keep the face super duper soft. So we're going to build the pushing capacity first. So pressing the palm down and forward. Seeing if we can slowly start to turn on a contraction through the entire arm. And that comes in phases and stages. So we just keep breathing and we keep that command. And then we'll see if we can strengthen our capacity in the opposite direction. So for the pulling aspect, can we not move through our ribs, our spine, or our pelvis, but lift the hand away from the block or the wall? That one's a little bit harder because that's a new end range. We're training ourselves to be strong at the end ranges. Great job, my friends. Release. Take a break. As you feel ready, let's do it again. You can do that same end range, or you can build into a newer one with a block or by walking your hand higher up the wall. So first, maybe set up your child's pose or the rest of your body. And then we can lengthen the arm. And first, we're building the contraction by pushing down and forward. So it's like as if the palm wanted to kind of press through the block or press through the wall. And then can I build my capacity in the opposite direction? So without altering anything in my ribs, spine, or pelvis, can I lift my palm any amount? That one's tricky. Great job, my friends. Let's release. Let's come on out of that. Let's release the pose entirely. Whew. We'll come to an easy seat. We don't need the block anymore. And from here, we'll try to work a shoulder flexion in both arms. So it can be any seated position, even if you'd like to get up onto your couch or something like that. But here, let's return to the idea of the centrated spine. So the pelvis is in neutral. The rib cage is in neutral. The head is sitting right up over that. And then from here, starting with the arms down, just kind of like we did when we were standing, we'll slowly start to bring both of them together in front of the body. And now we don't have the second arm as feedback. So we have to feel a little bit more accurately what those changes are, what changes are happening through the ribs and the spine and the pelvis. And we're just going slow, as high up as we can. As high up as we can go. And I can feel all those little changes. So it's like every time we repeat this, we're able to feel with a little bit more specificity, like what's shifting, what's changing, what wants to move with my shoulders. But we just worked strength and some new end ranges. So we're gonna see, can I get them as high up as they'll go? And gently bring them all the way back down and forward. Wow, good job, my friends. Let's just do one more movement to work on our shoulder flexion. Come on down to your back. And this one, again, can I start to sense my pelvis, my spine, my ribs in neutral? Can I sense that my armpits are evenly spaced from my hip bones, that my ears are evenly spaced from my shoulders? And then can I, if you can't really assess out what neutral is here, maybe rock and roll a few times in the pelvis or the ribs, and then you can start to kind of sense, like, where is that? Because now we can leave, let's just say, the right hand maybe on the pelvis, and then the left arm rests down by its side, so the shoulder's in neutral. Just kind of sense here how all of this tissue back here feels. And if your head feels like your chin is really lifted, you might even like having a pillow under your head. And that might be what kind of gets your cervical spine, your neck more into a neutral place. And so from here, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start to lift the left fingers forward and up towards the sky. And now it's just like a different relationship to gravity. As it starts to kind of go more back towards the ear line, we can really start to feel how much of the front body wants to sort of crack open like a nutshell. And we try not to let that happen. Now try to control it all the way back. Maybe it actually even rests on the floor. And if you have to kind of drop it to rest on the floor, it'll be harder for you to pick it back up with control. So just kind of go to where you feel like you're still kind of in control, and then see, can I control my fingers off the ground and the arm back up and down by the waist. All right, let's switch our side. Let's go with the right arm, trying to maintain neutral. We're trying to maintain like shoulder blade contact. The back of the upper arm is still on the ground. The back of the armpit is still on the ground. So that, that's where the upper ribs are. We want those upper ribs to stay nice and neutral, to stay out of the movement as much as possible. We don't want the front body kind of cracking open like a walnut. And just holding back there at the end range, getting strong as we start to lift our way back up and down. Let's see, maybe we can keep going. Let's change our sides again. Let's do the left arm. We'll just do one more. You just go in your own time. You'll notice like where you go really fast, that's just a gap. The brain's learning. The brain will learn. And we'll just do one more on the right. Another great passive way to explore shoulder flexion is when we hang off of something, like a chin-up bar, like monkey bars at a jungle gym. So if you have something like that where you can start to explore and kind of load the shoulders incrementally by taking away your body weight, so like standing up on something, and then gradually kind of taking weight out of the feet and letting the arms hold the body. And so it's here that maybe we want to close our eyes for a little bit. Maybe we want to kind of pendulum the knees left and right, kind of windshield wiper them. Maybe it even feels like we have enough space and it feels good in the shoulders to rest the arms more towards like a goalpost position or a cactus position. Maybe we just want to find a couple of moments to rest here. Let the body absorb the nutrients of this practice. This is where I'll leave us formally today. So if you have a couple of extra minutes that you'd like to spend and lay here, of course, you're always welcome. I thank you so much for your time, your attention, your willingness to explore these subtle places. I hope that it just makes you work and feel better today and tomorrow and the next day. And the last thing I want to say before we wrap up is that I'm on Patreon, and so if you feel compelled to donate to this work, to move closer to us, to even get your hands on some kind of like exclusive content, then I'll leave the link below in the description for you to head over there. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.